Tonight will be mainly dry with clear spells and a few showers on the Atlantic coast. Patches of mist and fog may develop. Lowest temperatures 1 to 5 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Good evening, this is Thursday's Off the Ball. It's Eoin here with you until 10 o'clock this evening. Full live match commentary for you tonight from Tallaght Stadium. It is Shelbourne versus Crystal Palace in the Conference League. And really, Shells need an upset. They really need 3 points if they're going to be playing in this competition next month. We're going to have Stephen Doyle and Keith Treacy there at the stadium. Kick-off is at 8 o'clock. Cameron Hill is with me in studio for tonight's news round as well. But we're going to start by going to Reykjavik, where our reporter Ben Symes is watching Breidablik versus Shamrock Rovers. 62 minutes on the clock. Ben, what is happening?
It is absolutely freezing here in Reykjavik, and Shamrock Rovers have dealt with the conditions quite well. There's an absolutely howling, wailing wind. It was behind Rovers back in the first half. They took full advantage of it 32 minutes in the Grain. Burke has had his way with Breidablik in the first half an hour. He finished a lovely move. Rory Gaffney was down the left-hand side, squared it back to Matt Heady, who played it for Burke. It's Burke's 13th goal in Europe. And it kind of looked like Rovers were going to kick on from there. However, the lead only lasted for 3 minutes. Breidablik had a short corner. They've been doing them all game and catching Rovers out. The ball was whipped across to the face of the goal, and it was Victor Margerson at the back stick. Rovers have started the second half quite well. Weirdly, the wind is kind of playing into their advantage. The ball has been kind of holding up when it's going up towards Rory Gaffney, but I cannot emphasise enough just how bad this weather is. And most of the Rovers players are long sleeve. Of course, the 3 centre halves, the hard men at the back, were all in short sleeves. Yeah,
you can actually hear on the TV coverage the howling wind at certain points of silence, and I think the empty stadium kind of adds to that. But Ben, Breidablik, they have 1 extra point in Shamrock Rovers at the moment, so for them the task is exactly the same. Both of these teams need to find a winner in the last 27 minutes.
Yeah, both need to find a win, and both managers were very clear that before the game. They've actually picked up both of their points at home against Coops and Samson Spor from Turkey in the last game, which was a great result for them, and 2-2 here. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's two teams who are kind of gone all out attack now here in the second half. A draw was nothing for either side. It looks like 7 points will be enough if Rovers can't win here and then beat Spartans on the last day in Tallaght. But they've a bit of a task here if they want to get a winner. Like, I cannot emphasise enough. You can probably hear it on the microphone. That wind is now in Breidablik's back in this second half. And Rovers have a very, very tough task. Lee Grace, who's making his 50th appearance in Europe, just went off injured a couple of moments ago. Max Kovalevskis came on, so Rovers have switched to a back four. They have no choice but to go all out to get 3 points here on.
Yeah, nice one. Ben Symes there in Reykjavik watching that one in the least sheltered press box I've ever heard in my entire life. So 1-1 there after 64 minutes. Cameron, you've been keeping an eye on this in the first half as well. Just one other piece of news. Good evening, by the way, Cameron.
Thank you.
Before we go to Tallaght, of an Irish interest tonight in the Europa League.
Yeah, Celtic taking on Roma in the Europa League this evening, and the big news from the team news there is that Evan Ferguson is starting up front for the visitors to Parkhead tonight. Obviously, comments coming out from Giampiero Gasparini and from Italian media suggesting that his loan spell will be cut short in January, but he is up top alongside Stephen El Shawari for tonight's game. Ferguson against Scales is on Liam Scales in the Celtic team tonight.
We should have a little countdown timer in the corner of all of our streams. 20 days until January, until the end of Evan Ferguson at Roma. 20 days to save your career in Italy, Evan, but he starts up front tonight. Very good news for him. Right, let's get over to Tallaght Stadium, and first of all, Stephen Doyle. Steve-O, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Owen. How are you?
Very well. So just set the scene for us here. I know it's not 100% accurate to say that 7 points are required to get to the knockout stage, but it's as good as being 100% accurate. Basically, we need 2 wins in the next 2 weeks for Shells to be playing knockout football.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, you look at the table now as it stands with the current games in play. The team in 24th position are on 5 points. In fact, the 2 teams in 23 and 24 both on 5 points. Omania and Nicosia playing away to Rapid Vienna, who are currently bottom of the standings. Rapid Vienna at home, though, might fancy themselves getting their first win on the board. But yeah, you would think with the likes of Coops, Omania, and who have you got above them then? Zrinski and Noah on 6 points. Noah currently in play, so they've only got 1 more game to go. Yeah, you'd be kind of looking at 7 points should get you through. But as we've seen with Shamrock Rovers going away to Breidablik, you know, these are all very tough games. There's no easy games in this particular competition, as we've seen with Shelbourne, because they had games here which you might have thought they'd got points from, especially in the last fixture against Treacy, and they just didn't. And it's all come down to their finishing. They need to really be better up front.
Talk to us about tonight's team sheets then. Shell's going all out. I presume Crystal Palace have got a bit of a blend in terms of their 11.
Yeah, well, Shelbourne making 3 changes from their last game. Their last outing was against Azi Alkmaar over in the Netherlands. They lost that game by 2-0 last Thursday. And when you look at the Shelbourne team, there's just 3 changes have been made, and he's decided to go with 2 recognised strikers in Sean Boyd and John Martin. They both come in for JJ Lunny and Mipo Odebeko. Mipo Odebeko, who played really well against Treacy the last time, but he had some really gilt-edged chances, one in particular in the first half that he should have put away, and instead he put it over, and that could have got them the all-important 3 points. That could have them in a much better position than they are now. And the other change for Shelbourne is Evan Caffrey coming in for Dan Kelly. That certainly is a change that will strengthen their back 5. So they go with Spiel in goal. It's a back 3 then of Coyle, Barrett and Ledwidge. And Mbeng and Kelly are the wing backs, and then it's John Henry Francis, who's been really good in this European campaign, a former Arsenal man. I'm sure would like to perform well here tonight against Crystal Palace. He's in midfield along with Kerr McEnroy, Harry Wood, and then it's Sean Boyd and John Martin up front. Martin might just play off Sean Boyd, the lead striker, and it's Boyd's first game, his first start I should say, for Shelbourne since September. A man who a lot of people felt maybe could be leaving the club at the end of the season, but he certainly will give a very physical battle to the likes of Lacroix and Gehi in the back for Crystal Palace. So just to give you the Crystal Palace team, there are a couple of changes, but a very strong Crystal Palace team, especially at the back. The substitute goalkeeper Benitez comes in, and then it is the back 3 that started against Fulham on Sunday: Richards, Lacroix and Gehi. And then in midfield we've got Adam Wharton playing alongside Kamada, and then the wing backs Sosa and Devaney, and then up front you've got Eddie Nketiah and Pino playing alongside Christantis Uche, a player from Nigeria, formerly of Getafe, a player that a lot of Crystal Palace supporters are very excited to see how he progresses at the club. But I have to say personally, I'm really excited about seeing Adam Wharton in the flesh. This fella is one of the best footballers in England at the moment. His performance against Fulham on Sunday was absolutely superb. We saw him in the FA Cup final, big contributor to that win in Crystal Palace, winning that trophy back in May, and it's absolutely brilliant to see him starting here on Irish soil tonight.
Very good. Let's say hello to Keith Treacy as well. Keith, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
All good. That Palace team is quite strong actually, and when you look at the overall table, they're only on 6 points at the moment. Crystal Palace in 20th position, so they need a win just as much as Shells are going to need a win tonight, it seems.
Yeah, they do, and I think if you're a Shelbourne player, you want to play against some of the best players within the Premier League. Crystal Palace are currently sitting 4th in the Premier League, so it's no stretch of the imagination to say some of these players are some of the best players in the Premier League right now. I, like Stephen, can't wait to see Adam Wharton in the flesh. You know, when Pep Guardiola highlights a player for praise, you know, you generally stand up and want to watch these players. So I think it's great that Wharton is playing. I think it's brilliant that Mark Gehi is there. The amount of internationals within the Palace team is frightening. You've got Nigeria, Spain, a couple of English internationals, a Japanese international, even a USA international in there. So it's going to be really difficult for Shelbourne, but look, I think there's learnings in it. I think for a long time out now, it hasn't looked like Shelbourne are going to progress, but at times this will feel like a real punishment. But playing against, you know, the 4th best team in the Premier League right now is a reward for Shelbourne, and they've only got to throw their mind back a couple of years. It's been a brilliant rise, and these are the nights that the fans would have been longing for. So although it doesn't look like they're going to progress, these are the type of nights that the Shells players and fans should enjoy.
We do want to play a clip from yesterday's press conference. Oliver Glasner was facing the media, and of course there's an Irish angle in Paddy McCarthy in Glasner's backroom team. So here is Glasner speaking about McCarthy.
Yes, I had to give him one more day off, and he was really pleased. So usually it's always, of course, like all the players, they get off and the next day. And then when I saw that they scored the game winning in the 97th minute at Budapest, I texted him during the night. I thought that maybe he needs another day, and he was really grateful for this. he needed it, I think, but he deserved it. And of course now Ireland is facing hopefully 2 big games in March. And because we're talking about it right now, it looks like we have at least 10 players playing at the World Cup, and of course, hopefully Paddy being involved there with Ireland, and we have Justin Devaney also in the qualification with Northern Ireland. So a few players and staff members who could qualify. It's big for Crystal Palace, and yes, in March, fingers will be crossed for Ireland.
Yeah, it's one of the unheralded stories in this year's Premier League from an Irish standpoint, Keith, is the fact that Paddy McCarthy is involved in one of the most overperforming teams in England right now.
Yeah, look, I think it's great. Generally, we look on the pitch for some sort of inspiration. But what Paddy McCarthy is doing has been really, really good. I do think he's improved the defenders that Ireland have, and that's your remit as a coach, to go and improve players around you. And I think Paddy definitely does that. You only have to look across at Keith Andrews as well, a really young man. I think he's early 40s now, Keith. So there's a lot of Irish lads there flying the flag really high in terms of coaching and management.
Yeah, for sure. Give us a general expectation then of this evening, Keith. Like what can Shelbourne fans reasonably expect to get out of this game?
Oh, I don't know. I think they'd like to keep it competitive for large periods. I think there's going to be times where, Shelbourne just become a little bit unstuck with the amount of talent that they have. As I said, Adam Wharton is an English international. His ceiling is so high. If you were to try and put some sort of price tag on him, straight away you're looking at in and around 60 million given his age. So the talent pool that Shelbourne are up against, it's very, very deep water. But as I say, what are the expectations for tonight? I don't know. I think first part of the call, nobody likes to say it out loud. It's probably don't get embarrassed, keep it competitive for long periods. And look, there's always that little hope that Crystal Palace come here and think, we don't really want to be here, we should have qualified by now. This feels like a little bit of a punishment, and with the highs that they've gone through in the Premier League, and obviously picking up a trophy with Oliver Glasner, maybe they turn up and they're a little bit offbeat and do some wrong things, and Shelbourne possibly get a set piece and something happens. There's always that type of hope, but I do think if any sort of version of Crystal Palace that we've seen in the Premier League so far turn up, it's going to be a difficult night for Shelbourne.
Keith, thank you very much for that. You may stay on the line. We'll get over to Iceland right now, actually, because there's been a big goal there and a big setback for Shamrock Rovers, Ben.
Yeah, Owen Breivik have just taken the lead. It's 2-1 here in the Lagertsvatler Stadium. It's Einarsson with the goal. He cuts in out on the right-hand side and absolutely buries it in the far corner. Victor Nozambuno was marking him. Maybe could have done a little bit better. A couple of question marks he jinked by him. But it's a huge uphill task now for Shamrock Rovers. If they want to play European knockout football next season, they've gone all out for it. They brought on Michael Noonan and Max Kovalevskis, but they need 2 goals now in the final 16 minutes.
Yes, exactly. Keith, just your quick thoughts on that. Shamrock Rovers would have been the team who would have pinned our expectations on. Shelbourne first year in this competition. They'd obviously get a bit of a break. Shamrock Rovers having the experience of last season, having got out of the league phase. This would be, there's no way to kind of dress this up as anything other than a setback if they weren't to qualify.
Yeah, it's definitely a setback, but imagine saying that Shamrock Rovers aren't going to qualify out of the group, or it looks like they're not going to qualify out of the group, and we're sitting here and we're genuinely disappointed about that. Yeah. That would have been off the wall stuff a couple of months ago, if not years ago. So look, Breidablik aren't a bad team, but we got to the last 2 games, and Stephen Bradley, and even I was at a dinner during the week, and I was talking to Graham Burke, and they felt quietly confident that they've got the 1 point. If they can go and get the 6-3 against Breidablik and against Hamrun, they fancied themselves. So it is a massive setback. I don't think you can dress it up either way, but the fact that Shamrock Rovers I know they've only got the 1 point on the board, but the fact that they're competitive and we hold real hopes of them progressing out of the league phase, it's absolutely massive.
75 minutes on the clock. Breidablik 2, Shamrock Rovers 1 is the latest score there. Cameron, what else is happening tonight in Europe?
Well, there's Europa League games this evening as well. Owen, Aston Villa have made the trip to Switzerland. They take on Basel from 8 o'clock. The big news there is that Emi Buendia starts for Villa this evening, while Emi Martinez does not. Marco Bizzo is preferred in goal tonight. Basel, of course, have Xherdan Shaqiri starting up top for them tonight. We've also already mentioned Celtic taking on Roma at Parkhead this evening. Evan Ferguson starting up front alongside captain Stephen El Shawari for the Serie A team as they take on Celtic, and Celtic boss Wilfred Nancy says he knows the only way to buy himself more time with the Hoops is to start winning quickly. His tenure began with a disappointing 2-1 defeat to Scottish Premiership leaders Hearts on Sunday, and he admits it's been a whirlwind first few days in Glasgow.
My mum told me that I have, I don't know how to say that in English, but I have bags, a bit of bags. I said, yeah, mommy, I just come in, jet lag, try to anticipate everything. But again, this is part of our job. I'm really excited by that.
Keith, your thoughts on this week for Evan Ferguson? There is still time to save this loan, right?
I think there's always time, yeah. Once he's still in the building and he's playing games, there's always time for it to turn around. I think the more worrying thing was that the manager had come out and sort of gave him a little bit of a slap on the wrist. And, you've been here long enough now, Evan. We need to start seeing some reward. I still think he's stuck on just a one goal for Roma. So, although there's been periods where Evan has played well, I always maintain that if you're not a goal scoring centre forward for Roma, you're not going to last very long. It really doesn't matter what else you do in terms of your link-up play and how hard you work. The remit for an AS Roma striker is to score goals. So Evan hasn't quite done that just yet. But I still think he's still way ahead of the curve. He's played in the Premier League at Brighton. He's played in Serie A now with Roma. And okay, it doesn't look like maybe it's worked out, or so far hasn't worked out quite as well as Evan and all Irish fans would have liked. But he's still doing really, really well. He's a young striker, still learning the game every time he steps across the white line. So I don't think we need to get too far ahead of ourselves. And who needs Evan Ferguson when you've got Troy Parrott banging in the goals?
Well, he is playing tonight. He's still on the pitch for AZ Alkmaar. They're 2-0 up away to Drita. He hasn't quite got on the score sheet just yet, Parrott, but he's still out there. Cameron, you're taking us to the rugby news next.
Yes, indeed, Eoin. Leinster have handed a first start to Rico Ioane for tomorrow night's Investec Champions Cup to Leicester Tigers. The New Zealand international will link up with Robbie Henshaw in the midfield for that game at Welford Road. The defending URC champions can kick off their European campaign with back-to-back wins after beating Harlequins last weekend at the Aviva Stadium. They've already suffered 3 defeats in the URC, however, but senior coach Robin McBride was philosophical on what may come from their unusual start to this season.
The fact that we've got our backs against the wall, from the start of the season, it is a little bit different. And in a funny way, I wouldn't say it's refreshing, but it's a different challenge. So it's a different mindset. And it's a challenge to stand up to and see how you go, see how people react under pressure right from the word go. So this season's different. You've got to manage these players, and it's not going to get any easier. It's going to get harder, if anything, to manage the integration, the reintegration, the management of players, etc. Maybe that needs to alter our approach as well with regards to how we prepare for different periods of the season. You could argue we haven't got it right so far. So, yeah, it's something that, because of the nature of how many players we miss during the international windows, it's definitely something that we're going to have to get to grips with and try and find the answer to it.
Rico Ioane is the sexy story from Leinster, but the big story is Harry Byrne starting, right?
It is absolutely. Instead of Sam Prendergast, maybe it's a sort of horses for courses. Let's see how you do against a team who'll really want to beat you at Welford Road and kick their Champions Cup campaign off finally. But it's huge for Harry Byrne. He's been really, really impressive since he returned from the Premiership last season when he went on that loan spell to Bristol. And I'd like to see him kick on and maybe have a third 10 entering the chat when it comes to the Ireland selection right now. It definitely feels like he's in pole position, and it's a great opportunity, and we get to see maybe if things aren't going well whether Sam Prendergast can change the tempo if he comes on. So big game, Leicester have a couple of internationals back. Freddie Stewart, they'll be kicking to him all night. He'll be at fullback, and Tommy Raffel will be putting pressure on Harry Byrne's channel from 7. But a huge opportunity for him.
This is a game we're going to have live on the radio tomorrow night, by the way. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Johnny Murphy's going to be alongside Kwana Flaherty. Just on your point about it being horses for courses, it kind of feels like similar language we were using at the start when Prendergast entered the Ireland chat, when it's no problem that Crowley's out. This isn't a real threat. I don't know, are we kind of having similar talk at the moment? Like, I think Harry Byrne is going to be given an opportunity to prove that this is a debate at Leinster, because you look at the rest of that starting 15, maybe with the exception of Dan Sheahan, I mean, it is absolutely their first choice 15 with regards to the players that are available. So Sheahan's on the bench and Prendergast is on the bench. Like I think this is very much a sort of this is your chance, Harry. Prove to us that you can actually out Sam Prendergast in the number 10 jersey. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the opportunity is there for him tomorrow night. Perhaps
you definitely have a point. And if it's a first choice pack, it's sort of like, we're going to give you as good a platform as possible to maybe make some magic happen. You know, Leicester have an incredible pack and they'll want to beat this Leinster pack up as much as possible. So if they can reward Harry Byrne with good, clean ball, he can reward them by producing some amazing attack. I think you also have to remember, like, we're heading into a really busy festive period for the provinces. There'll be loads of interpros in the URC, and then hopefully if they can get the win tomorrow night, they'll have their business done in the Champions Cup and be already through.
Prendergast didn't play the full 80 last week, though. This guy does not need to be wrapped in cotton wool. No, I'm probably trying to make too much of a dramatic scenario here about these two things.
Do you have stock in Prendergast? Is that what that is?
Well, potentially. I don't know. Right, you have one other rugby story for us, which is very interesting.
This is fascinating. So Ronan O'Gara, first up, has been handed a 2-match ban by French rugby officials for actions against a match official last month. The La Rochelle head coach sent to the stands during their game against Pau following Antoine Hastoy's red card after 34 seconds, the fastest sending off in top 14 history. So the ban was originally 2 weeks, upgraded to 3 weeks for repeat offences from Ronan O'Gara, and then reduced again to 2 weeks for an admission of guilt and an apology. So we ended up at 2 weeks anyway. But he's been floated as a potential successor to his former Munster teammate Jason Holland in the New Zealand coaching setup. So Holland's heading back to work with the Hurricanes, meaning that a place on that coaching ticket has opened up. O'Gara worked with Scott Robertson, who's the current New Zealand boss, at Crusaders, and then with the Barbarians in 2022. And All Blacks great Israel Dag believes that if New Zealand rugby are looking for a left field option, Raj might be the perfect fit. He was speaking on the Scott and Izzy podcast this week.
Well, if there's someone out there, it's potentially Ronan O'Gara. That's probably the name that. You know, Razor's got a great relationship. I've been coached from him. He's an awesome coach. Absolutely love my time with Ronan. So if that is the case, he could potentially be an option. But other than that, yeah, I can't really see anyone else out there overseas that could come in and do that role. For me personally, I'd rather select from within in this country and grow our own coaches.
We had got O'Gara all the way back to France. Surely we can't undo all this good work and allow him to fly away to New Zealand once again. It's going to be really interesting because the worse Ireland do on a test level, the greater the earning will be for Ronan O'Gara. And the better Ireland do, the less we'll feel that Ronan O'Gara is required. However, also simultaneous to this, you kind of need to see La Rochelle to continue to do as well as they've done over the last couple of years to ensure that his stock remains high. But I think the primary concern is if Andy Farrell manages to turn this ship around and they go and they get past the quarter-final or whatever the case may be at the next World Cup, then maybe there won't be a whole pile of shuffling around. But there is also a world where there might be a fresh voice or two required in a year or two. So we'll see how this plays out. It'll be very interesting to see if he does go back down there. We got a text in here, Cameron, from Patrick saying, don't forget the darts starts tonight. It must be Christmas. Have a good one, lads. You have a good one as well, Patrick. It is the best time of year, Cameron.
It is. Luke Littler among those in action on the opening night of the PDC World Darts Championships in Ali Pali tonight. The 18-year-old begins his title defence against Daria Labanauskas of Lithuania in the evening session. Also this evening, you've 2023 champion Michael Smith taking on Lisa Ashton in that first round clash. We are underway at Ali Pali for 2025 own. Kim Huybrecht is 2 legs to 1 up on Arno Merck in the first of the games this championship.
I can't wait to get to know the Kim Huybrechts from the quick, give me a darts player's name from either Belgium, Netherlands or Germany, please. No, I'm not up to speed at all. Give me a week and I'll be... I'm going to rely on you for wisdom to this one as well. Owen's been in touch. Do coaches that get red carded have to go to coaching school like tackling school?
No, it's really annoying. Tackle school just exists for red cards, but not for other things that they maybe should.
You have some hockey finally.
Yes, it's time to bring you a story of Ireland beating England because they got the better of their English counterparts in a sudden death shootout to earn the first points of their debut season in the Women's FIH Hockey Pro League. Sarah Torrance got the goal for the hosts in that game today, which finished 1-1 at the end of the fourth quarter before goalkeeper Elizabeth Burke made the crucial save to seal victory at the Sport Ireland campus. So congratulations to them.
Cameron Hill, thank you very much for tonight's news round. I can tell you it's still 2-1 to Breidablik in Reykjavik this evening, so Shamrock Rovers desperately in search of an equaliser, and they're probably going to need a winner as well. 86 minutes on the clock there, and we've got full live match commentary of Shells versus Crystal Palace from Tallaght Stadium from 8 p.m. We're going to be speaking to Stephanie Punch after the break, though. She's going to be playing for St Finbars against Athenry in the All-Ireland Senior Camogie Club Final this weekend. Before the break, it's time for the Cash Machine.
News Talk's Christmas Cash Machine.
Now, the Christmas Cash Machine is here, and there was a quarter of a